This is Joanna Kearns, and you're listening to Fascination Street Podcast.
Yeah, AV in your ears. That's Ambush Van giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street. You already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with A.J Lambert. A.J is a singer, a songwriter, and a musician, and now she is a filmmaker. A.J recently completed her new short film, Junction. In this episode, we talk about Junction and why she made it into a short film, and what she hopes to get out of putting out a short film. We also talk a little bit about her father, Hugh Lambert, and some of the things that he was known for and some of the impacts that he had in her life. We also talk a little bit about her mother, Nancy Sinatra, and of course her grandfather, Frank Sinatra. We talk about some of AJ's music. She put out her first full-length album in 2019 and then quickly followed it up with a couple of more albums. In between her solo albums and her other musical projects, she has put out like 5 albums in 5 years or something like that. Obviously, I asked her if I can play one of her songs, and she says yes. So she lets me play a song off of her 2022 album, Dirt Soda, and I think you guys are going to dig it. Keep your ears and eyes peeled for AJ, whether it is music. She performs locally around the Los Angeles area-ish, and she does some pretty stripped-down Frank Sinatra albums. She'll pick an album, do the whole thing. It'll be live with her and a pianist, and it is fantastic. So keep a lookout for that. You can get updates on when and where those performances are going to be on her Instagram and her website, which she gets both of those in the episode. And then again, keep your eyes peeled for film festivals and wherever else short films come out these days. 2025, she's really going to be pushing this short film and trying to get it into all of the festivals and making the rounds and see what happens. I can't thank AJ enough for taking the time to hang out with me and just chit chat about some of the cool things that have happened and some of the not so cool things that have happened, and just being vulnerable in the moment with me as we talk about all these different, sometimes sad things. And this is my conversation with singer, songwriter, musician, and now filmmaker, A.J Lambert.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, A.J Lambert. How you doing today?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Now, do we say Angela Jennifer, or do we just say AJ? I'm going to go with AJ. What do you think?
That's kind of what they started calling me when I was a kid, so that's what I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is AJ Lambert. She is, oh my gosh, she's everything. We're going to talk about this, but she is a bass player kind of sometimes and things.
Sometimes.
And she sings and she produces and now she makes films. We're going to talk about all of that. But first, AJ, what I like to do is I like to start from the beginning. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up here in LA, where I am right now. Born and raised, kind of a rarity, I guess.
A little bit.
Of select few of us.
A very select few. So, ladies and gentlemen, A.J Lambert is the daughter of Hugh Lambert, who was a choreographer, a dancer, and a producer, notably on Laugh-In and The Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And also, I guess your mom is Nancy Sinatra.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. And so then that means your grandfather was Frank Sinatra, your uncle was Frank Jr., and then your aunt is Christina or Tina.
Right.
People listening know, and I'm sure you're, I don't know, maybe tired of hearing this, but oh my God, huge fan.
Oh, great. That's always good to hear.
So not in this room, because that would be gauche, but in the next room, like, I don't know, the loft, the home theater, whatever you want to call it, it's all Frank Sinatra. I got like 70 Frank Sinatra vinyls. I got, posters of the Summit and the Rat Pack. I even have a sheet of the Frank Sinatra U.S. postage stamp framed on the wall.
Oh, yeah, cool. I remember that.
I even have a Barbie doll, like a Mattel Frank Sinatra. It's pretty sick.
Wow. I don't know about that one.
It's pretty cool. Oh, and then recently for my most recent birthday, which is 2 days before yours,
Ah,
and I mean year and everything. So I got you by 2 whole days. Some friends gave me a clock, but it was like a vinyl record, but then they like carved out like Frank Sinatra singing into a microphone and turned it into a clock. It's pretty sick. Anyway, like I said, we're not here to talk about him, though I'm a big fan.
that's good.
We're going to go all over the place if you're okay with that.
Sure.
And if there are some things you don't want to talk about, just say I don't want to talk about that and I'll cut it because I edit the hell out of this thing.
Okay.
Okay, so growing up, your mom and your dad, Nancy and Hugh, you guys were living in LA, I'm assuming because that's where the work was, right?
I mean, my whole family had moved out here in the, late 40s, like literally everybody, my grandmother's side as well. So every cousin I have, like everybody moved out here when they moved out here, when my grandparents moved out here. So it's kind of an LA family, even though my parents and my grandparents were born in New Jersey, everybody's kind of from here after that generation.
Now, Hugh, he wasn't born in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, he was.
Really?
Yeah, he's from Metuchen. It's a real long and interesting story, but he ended up in the Bronx, which is where he grew up. And then my half brother and sister, his first family, basically, they were young parents and they lived in New York, about 3 blocks from where I ended up moving when I moved to New York. So that's kind of funny. He moved out here when he was working on, after he stopped working on Ed Sullivan and he started working on Laugh-In. So that's why he moved out here. And my mom was already here.
So even though they're both from Jersey, they met in LA?
I don't know if they met in LA. I think they met on the Sullivan Show.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, like 10 years before they were married. They met and then it's like, okay, bye. And then later they met each other again.
I like that. They met and it was like, okay, bye.
Yeah. And then that's my understanding. And then they met again years later.
Your father, Hugh Lambert, again, famous, all the things I said earlier, choreographer, dancer, producer. He passed away when you were pretty young. I think you were 11, but only kind of just barely.
Yeah, that's right.
He was sick and then he kind of passed away. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
Again, like I said, we're the same age. I don't think I would have been prepared. I can't imagine anybody is.
No.
My mom passed away when I was like 40, and it wasn't any easier than I would imagine it would have been if I was younger. Again, if you don't want to talk about this, don't. But how did your father's passing with you at such an early age, like what did that do to you? I know it floored you, but I've heard you explain that was a definite marker. Like there's a before and there's an after. Like sure. You changed that day.
For sure.
Can you explain how?
I was just super close to him. And so that was not good news when the parent that I was closest to was just deleted. So I don't know how to put it into words, really. It kind of informs the rest of your life. And I am sorry about your mom's passing at the age that you were, but it really is quite different when you're a child because, you don't have that bonding and all the stuff that could have happened. It's not that it's early childhood anymore, it's later, but it's still, all those formative things that happen up until you're out of your house. I didn't get to share those things with somebody I was really close to. And I think it made a huge impact. I know it did on everything going forward.
What do you think you missed out on the most? Was it the fatherly advice? Was it everything from showing you how to change a flat tire to saying, hey?
He actually showed me how to do that before he died.
Oh, that's so cool.
No, I mean, you name it, literally everything, anything and everything, how to have relationships, how to, a model for what's acceptable, that you're allowed to stand for as a woman and what you're not. You name it. Literally everything. Bonding over movies and music that I know we would have loved together. You name it. Literally everything.
Did it make your relationship with your mom more difficult or not?
That didn't know. It just, it's just different. So all of a sudden there's one parent. It could have been the same potentially if it was divorce in terms of, there being one parent in the house. But I also have autism and, it's hard for me to bond with people in general. So when when I lose the person that I have the closest relationship with, everything's kind of, it's hard to explain, to be honest. I'm not great at explaining it. I was just closer to my dad. That's as simple as I can put it.
Hey, that's as simple as it needs to be. We're going to move on because that is heartbreaking, and I don't want to bring any of that up again. I don't want to rehash it. You're a third generation talent, musician. Some would say famous. I would. I don't know if you would. I would say famous.
I don't know.
But you're definitely a talent, right? You're a third generation talent, and you even had a show on Sirius XM called The Third Generation.
Yes, I did. Yes.
And that was on the Seriously Sinatra channel. How did that show come about?
I was thinking about it my whole life. People would always, I would get in, not arguments with people, but like people would be like, how can you like that music and that music? Like, how can you like such disparate, seemingly unable to coexist genres or styles or whatever artists? And I'd be like, to me, it all seems of a piece. Like I can trace my taste. So I thought it was interesting to explore the idea, and they're always trying to find ways to make him relevant now. I personally don't know how great a job they do at it sometimes. So I was thinking, I had just done a record with my mom, which featured, modern musicians writing music for her. And I thought that was an interesting thing to explore with him. Just the idea that you can see a through line in all kinds of music. Like, to me, David Bowie is very similar to Frank Sinatra, as is anybody. Could be literally anything, and you can find a through line, in my opinion. So I just tried to relate to things that seemed disparate to each other. It was a long-running thing. It was on for like 8 or 9 years. It was really great. And then it just kind of ran out of ideas. So that was it.
So when you approached Sirius or whoever and said, hey, I have an idea, were they like, get the hell out of my office? Or were they like, hey, that sounds great, tell me more?
No, they weren't, get me out of your office. Because, I met somebody who thought it was a good idea, who worked there. My mom already had a show on it. So it was like ultra nepotism, to be perfectly honest. It was like, what are they going to do? Say no? But no, I'm not trying to say like it was a bad idea and they just gave it to me anyway. They loved the idea. And I think it was just about trying to get listeners that weren't stuck in the kind of nostalgia aspect of it, which was successful with some listeners and not with others. Some people would say it was the worst thing. The stuff I would play was horrible. And, so it ran the gamut. It was fun. It was really fun.
Do you have a single favorite Frank Sinatra song?
No, it's more of an idea to me.
The early stuff?
That definitely, that for sure. I don't like anything kind of post 1960 in general. I don't tend to like that stuff at all. I don't like that voice and I don't like that attitude and all that stuff. It's not like
the attitude is something else.
It's not fun to me. Rat Pack, blah blah. It's like not
sure
interesting to me because that's not the person that I knew at all.
That's got to be like a character in your mind, right? Like, that's not the guy I knew. He was playing a role.
And I think it was for real to an extent, a character, because, you grow up in a way that he grew up and then like you're all of a sudden famous and well known. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I always thought it was an act, to be honest. I think it was in there like innately and it was able to be brought out. It's like an aspect that was able to be brought out. But I'm pretty sure that aspect wouldn't have been brought out if he didn't get famous.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Okay, your mom. Now, I know everybody knows that one song, but she has a ton of songs, and you've even written for her and worked with her. Do you have a single favorite Nancy Sinatra song?
I don't have one of those either. I'm a champion of the stuff that people don't really listen to of hers.
Like all the demos that she didn't release and you got to listen to at home?
They've all pretty much been released at this point. They weren't for a while. And I was really interested in getting a record out that was rarities and kind of unreleased stuff. And the way that I was going about it didn't make sense for her at the time. So it didn't happen. And she self-released them. So they're out there. You can find them. They're just self-released on iTunes. And then some of them got repackaged as that Light in the Attic stuff that came out over the past few years. Mm-hmm. So I was happy to see that finally it had an outlet, properly, because that was my whole goal, was to treat it, with a proper release and nice packaging and like good sound and properly mastered and all that stuff. So finally through the efforts of my sister, it was able to finally get done. So I was glad that she was able to spearhead that and get that done because it sounds great.
Ladies and gentlemen, her sister is Amanda.
Yes.
What does Amanda do? I kind of have an idea of what you do. What does she do?
She is an artist, like a visual artist, photography, painting, and she's also been really instrumental in all those Light in the Attic releases, but also she has been sort of the go-to person with when it comes to Frank and Nancy things in terms of books, art books, things like that. She compiled a lot of the photography archive that we have now, digitizing everything of Frank's, and like she was managing that archive for many, many years. That was kind of her role as far as family business kind of things. But on her own, she's a visual artist and a painter, photographer, and a mom.
Do you think she gets the visual creativity from Frank? I know in his later years, he was a painter. Oh, they even, well, I'm sure you know, turned some of his paintings into neckties, and I have a couple. They're so dope.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe we both spent time with him in the studio and stuff. So I don't know. I think she probably had it in herself too, because his way of painting is really specific, but he loved it very much. I think she's just that kind of person anyway. She's a visual person. I'm not that person at all. And I had the same grandfather, so who knows?
Do you have any of his paintings?
Yes, I do. Actually, I have one.
Oh, cool. It always bugs me when family doesn't have a thing. So I'm glad you have at least one of the paintings yourself, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're so dope. My favorite one, I think, that I have seen, I believe he gave it to Gregory Peck, who I know he used to come to the house and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that one is my favorite. Super dope. Okay, we're done. We're done talking about all of them. Okay. Oh, one more question. Your mom, her boots were made for walking. If you had boots, what would they be made for?
Oh, I don't like boots. I like being barefoot.
Oh, that is funny. All right. Now we're going to talk about you. How old were you when you realized that you were musically inclined? I know that you played bass for bands and things a while back, but how old were you when you realized that you had the music bug?
I've just been around it my whole life from both my parents, but I was always kind of interested in it and just around it a lot. I had piano lessons and everything, just like any kid, but taught myself the other instruments. My grandfather encouraged me as a drummer, actually. That was my first instrument outside of just having piano. He bought me my first kit, and I kind of taught myself how to play. Very basic, very, very basic. I've been a drummer in one band in my whole life, so it's not my first instrument by any stretch in terms of my ability. It was the first I taught myself, but not the one that I can play well. And yeah, I taught myself guitar and bass, and I just I'm serviceable at both of those instruments. There was a phase where I was actually playing properly and professionally as a bass player, but that's about as far as I got in terms of an instrument that wasn't my voice, was playing other people's music, and it helped to sort of have direction about how melodic they wanted things to be and how non-melodic and, that kind of stuff, specifics. But yeah, if given the choice, it wouldn't be the thing that I would just pick up. It was just the thing that people needed. I noticed, like my first band, I played bass just because it seemed easier to me at the time to play bass than it did to play guitar. Then it just became the kind of thing that people were it literally so many things. I took opportunities where they presented themselves, and I was like, yeah, I can play that. And then I just figured it out.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by Murray River Salt USA, Australia's only naturally pink salt. What makes Murray River Salt so good? Murray River Salt is sourced from the Murray-Darling Basin in Australia and is prized for its unique flavor, its delicate texture, its high mineral content, and it's kosher certified. Awarded for superior taste by the International Taste Institute, it's highly sought after by chefs and food enthusiasts alike. naturally different with 2/3 less sodium per teaspoon, no dextrose, no chemicals, no pesticides, and Murray River's high mineral content not only enhances the flavor but also contributes to its health benefits. And it contains a range of trace minerals like magnesium, calcium, and potassium. This pristine saline water source has been trapped underground for thousands of years and has not been exposed to the elements until it is pumped up for salt production, where the brine is solar evaporated and crystallizes over the summer months. Murray River salt comes in a variety of options, from pouches to canisters, boxes, and even gift sets for that chef or foodie in your life. Finally, Australia's only naturally pink salt is available here in the United States. For 10% off your order, go to murrayriversaltusa.com and use the code FSP10 at checkout. Again, that's 10% off your whole order at murrayriversaltusa.com with the promo code FSP10. And remember, it's perfect for any dish, so sprinkle it on your food as a finishing salt for a hydrating boost of electrolytes, throw it in some water, and it's great for margaritas too. Everything tastes better with Murray River salt.
Let's get back into it.
In 2019, you released your first album. It was called Careful You.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it take so long for you to release an album?
I mean, I had done, like I said, I was playing with other people. So I on many records before that.
Sure.
My first band, that record came out in 1997 or 8. And I did happen to sing on that. And it was my band, but it was just, it was an EP. And then I put out an EP of my own, solo music in 2006, but I don't know if that's able to be found anywhere anymore. And then I put out a record with this band Looker. Anyway, I was on a lot of stuff, but then yes, to put out my own record, just because, like you said, I'm 50 years old, so there's been a lot that went on. I had a career as a music supervisor for films and TV and stuff. So I was working like a regular job for a long time. And then I had my daughter and I moved back to California, and I was teaching. I taught music to little kids, and I was doing work like that for a long time. And then I finally was realizing that I had the chops, I guess, to sing properly, because I hadn't ever really focused on my singing before. Like when you're saying that record was being conceptualized in like 2016 is when I started working on that record. So it just, I'd been playing shows with just piano accompaniment, where I took the idea of the Sirius XM show with, songs that I thought were really awesome songwriting, and just stripped them down to piano and vocals, and it went well. And I thought, it'd be a fun record to make. And then I just found amazing musicians and made that record. And it kind of just went from there.
You had another album in 2022 called Dirt Soda. That is a very bizarre name. How did you come up with that name?
There's an actual, not a brand, but whatever, like you go into like one of those old timey candy places or a comic store where you can find like weird random candy and sodas and stuff. And there is a Dirt Soda, which I thought was funny.
I have to imagine it's made by Jones Company.
No,
they make all the... No, it's not Jones?
No, it's not a fancy one. It's just silly. Like they have booger and like pickle, and it's disgusting.
That sounds rough.
Yeah. And then before that, I had a record called Manhattan Beach, Swept by Ocean Breezes, which was the one that came out, I think, in 2021, I think. So yeah, there's been 3 LPs and 2 EPs, one of which is me and one of which is my band Bloodslide. There's been a lot in the past 5 years. I guess 5 records. And then there's been singles too, a couple singles.
There's a song, I don't know which album it's on. You did a song called Questions.
That's on Manhattan Beach.
Okay. Of all of the songs of yours that I've heard of your solo stuff, that's my favorite.
Oh, cool. Wow. I've never heard it before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very different to the original. Very different.
I don't know if I've ever heard the original.
She's amazing. Annette Peacock is amazing. There's 2 records that she put out that are from the 70s, and they're so good. They're so, so good. Just really great songwriting. I always like that song.
So your music, is it all covers? Did you write some? Is it some and some?
The first 2 albums are all covers. The first EP that I did it was kind of in tribute, I guess, to the anniversary, when the anniversary of Sinatra Sings for Only the Lonely happened in 2018. I did this EP that's just 4 songs from that record or that session. Lush Life is not on that record, but it was in the session, so I put Lush Life on there too. It's just me and my pianist and my friend Greg A.J from Proto Martyr, who's like playing guitar and stuff all over it. And then through that, he and I and our other friend decided to make a record as Bloodslide, which is the other EP that I've made in the past 5 years. And that one has 3 original songs and 1 cover. You know, we all kind of wrote those together. It was me, Greg, and Michael Wallace from Preoccupations. That's what Bloodslide is, and we wrote those together.
Dirt Soda, is that covers again, or?
Dirt Soda is about half and half.
Half and half. Well, this is going to sound like a weird, muddled request, I guess, but every time I have a musician on my show, I ask them if I can play one of their songs. Some of them say no, and that's fine. But a lot of them say yes. And so,
sure.
Can I play one of your songs?
Yeah.
Since you have such a catalog that is confused by writing credits and permissions, can you pick one that I'm allowed to play? Like maybe something that's yours?
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's see. So on Dirt Soda, there's Staff of the Flag, there's Friends, there's How Many, and there's Tommy Plus. And the last song on there, Oil on Linen, is mine, but it's very abstract and no one would like it. So I'd say out of those,
pick one. Pick your favorite of those. Maybe not your favorite, but what do you want the people to hear from those songs you mentioned?
I think the best one of those is probably How Many. That's a really strange song.
All right, cool. Here it is, guys. How Many, off of the 2022 album Dirt Soda by A.J Lambert. Okay, so you did the music. That's cool. We talked about your parents and your grandparents. That's all cool too. I want to talk about I heard an interview that you did a few years ago. It was with a gentleman who spoke mostly French, and it was a sort of a pick your own favorite jazz songs.
Oh, yeah, that was in Paris when I was there a couple of years ago on a tour. Yeah.
Do you speak French? Because sometimes it sounded like you speak French.
I can fake it okay. I can understand better than I can speak.
Okay, cool. Because I was going to ask why you speak French.
I'm a good mimic and I pick up stuff randomly.
Well, that was a really cool show.
I remember it really well. It was a really fun day. It was unique, just different. It was nice.
Yeah, it was an interesting concept for a show because basically you and the host talked about why certain jazz songs were some of your favorites, and then he would play them, which I thought was a really cool little, like I said, a concept for a show, for a podcast. I haven't really heard one go quite like that. It was a lot of fun to listen to. I want to talk about your film. You recently, and I mean recent, like right now, you just released or are about to release your very first short film. It is called Junction. It's about 40 minutes long. You wrote and directed this film. And when I started watching it for like maybe the first 5 or 6 minutes, me being the silly douchebag who's always trying to figure out the movie instead of just watch it, immediately, like in the first 5 or 6 minutes, I was like, oh, is this going to be sort of a biopic? Like, is this going to be like her experience about what had happened when she was a little kid and her father passed away? That all quickly got washed away and shit goes off the rails. And that is a wild, wild movie. What made you decide to write and direct a short film?
Well, that's what I went to college for. I went to film school.
Where?
USC.
Okay.
But my focus was on writing. I didn't do too much production while I was there, to my dismay. I mean, not to my dismay. It was a great program, but it was very much focused on writing because I'm a good writer, and that was where they wanted me to be. Like I got in because of the writing, not because I wanted to be a filmmaker, put it that way. That's what I got in on. And I really enjoyed it, but it was always kind of in the back of my mind that I wanted to make a film because I didn't do it in school, and just, life happened. I got that degree, and then I moved to New York, and I ended up doing music publishing and then music supervision and stuff. And so it just kind of happened that I didn't do film. I ended up doing film music instead, which was great. And then I did make a short a long time ago in like 2006. I made a short that had a tiny festival run and did the thing, but it's very fledgling. It's definitely a first film. And then again, more life happened. That was right before I started doing a lot of supervision on my own. And then since I started making music on my own, I started directing a lot of my own music videos just out of necessity and not having money to pay people to make a music video for me. There's 3 of them that are directed by other people, but all the rest of them are me. And I realized like, oh, okay, I forgot about how much I love this over those years. And I just kind of got inspired to write that movie, which was based on a song. Actually, I wrote a song that's on Dirt Soda that's kind of about that place that's in the Junction, that's in the movie, called Staff of the Flag. And then I always wanted to make a proper video of that song, but I didn't have the money to do it. And then a lot of things in my own life just happened that sort of fell in line with the idea of that song. And it just sort of extrapolated itself into a script very quickly. I wrote and shot it within 4 months, and then, was able to piece money together to get that done, and had a lot of help from amazing producers. It just kind of happened. It's, stuff finds a way out. It's either going to be in a song or it'll be, in a music video. It finds its way out of me somehow. So in this case, it came out that way.
How long ago did you write this film?
January.
You just wrote it in January?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to circle all the wagons and get the funding and the actors and everything? Like, how long did it take from when you wrote it to when you started shooting?
I mean, we started at the end of March.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fast. And,
you don't mess around.
No, I can't move on to the next until I've done the thing.
You're that kind of person.
Yeah. I'll obsess over it until I can create it, and then I can move on.
This is going to sound like a weird question, but I have to ask it. Why write and direct and make a short film? Like, who's the audience for this film, for any short film?
Right. So there isn't really an audience. That's the thing. It's obviously film festivals is the audience for it. And hopefully, this year, that's what the whole year has to be about. 2025 is hoping that it gets into a bunch of film festivals and it plays for people that way. But then beyond that, I guess the streaming services are picking things up like that nowadays.
Are they?
Sometimes it depends. It depends on how much juice it has. Even the shorts that are nominated for Oscars now, they're all kind of, you'll see a 20th Century Fox thing at the beginning. You know what I mean? It's a hard thing to break into as a short filmmaker. So usually what happens is it can be used for something else. Who knows? Like maybe someone sees it and says, hey, I've seen that you can make a movie and maybe you can direct my music video or something. Who knows? I just needed to get it out. I needed to make it, and we'll see what happens. That's the same with everything I make. It's like I put it in the world and see who bites at it and likes it. I'm going to make it anyway.
Yeah.
If people like it, then that's amazing.
So you made this for you, and if it happens to turn into a calling card for something else, that's cool, but that wasn't the intent.
I mean, sure, you want people to see and hear your art.
Sure.
But whether it be music, whether it be film, that's a game that other people control to such a large extent that to keep your sanity, you just kind of have to say, I need to make this and let the cards kind of fall where they may, honestly, especially at my age. I mean, I'm 50 years old. This is stuff that I'm going to make no matter what, as long as, I have the ability to do it. Now that I've made that, I don't have the ability to do it on my own anymore because I don't have the money anymore. But yeah, if someone sees something that they like, it's too difficult of an industry to sort of try to game, in my experience. So you do your best and you create for yourself and people who like it. And if gatekeepers like it, then that's even better, amazing. If it's like a bonus to me.
Without getting too into it, do you believe that there are gatekeepers?
Nowadays? Oh, yeah. You can put out music and stuff on your own, sure, like as much as you want for no money, for sure. Because you have so much access, right? Like I've put out a million things. Some of it's free, some of it's on Bandcamp for free, and some of it's released, and some of it's way more legitimized. Like I'm on a record, that Neil Hamburger record that came out this year, and that got way, way, way more attention than any of my own stuff. It's just the way it is. I think it's just a matter of taste and people picking up on it. And if it catches fire in a viral kind of way, fantastic. But I think the gatekeeping, what I'm trying to say is that at some point you're going to come up against, like, there are a select few companies and labels and et cetera that control a lot of things. And if you don't impress them, then you're kind of on your own. I mean, that's kind of how it's always been, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Even back in the olden days, if your grandfather pissed somebody off, then that was a problem for his career, if he pissed off the right person. So yeah, probably always. I was just curious, the people who were outside the industry 100%, like me and, most of my listeners, we're not really sure if there really are gatekeepers, if it's just an excuse, or are we being hoodwinked? Are we just being told what's cool?
Oh, but that's interesting. Like what do you mean by that? What do you think a gatekeeper is?
Well, I mean, you hear stories. Again, I'm 50, and I've heard stories about, let's just say with music, there will be music companies, record companies, who will sign an act that sounds like an act they already have, sure, but they'll sign this second act just so that they can shelve it so nobody hears it and takes away from this act that they've already signed and are in love with.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I was referring to it in a different way, meaning like you can have the art that's awesome, but it still has to get through the gate. It has to get through the powers that be.
It has to be anointed.
Someone has to give it, the stamp that it's good. I mean, that's how it's always been. I don't know. It's just either viral people like it nowadays, or there's a game. You're buying a spot on a playlist, or who knows? There's so many ways that you can do it nowadays. And to be honest with you, I'm a single parent and I'm 50 years old and I'm going to make my art no matter what. I don't have time to do all the social media. I try to keep up with that stuff, but it's not that important to me because I have a life outside of what I'm doing with art. I love my art and I want as many people to see and hear it as possible, just like anybody who makes stuff. But I've learned that I don't want to get in a position where I'm saying, where's my record deal at 50 years old? I promised myself that I wouldn't do that and I didn't. So the second I turned 50, I focused more on not banging those doors down anymore because I know it's good. Like I said, if other people like it, that's amazing. But I'm going to do it just because I like doing it.
Well, I hear you. I'm doing the same thing, but on a much smaller scale. I've been doing this for 7.5 years and there's 450 episodes. Some of them take off, some of them don't. I have no control over which ones do, right. But I'm just going to keep doing what I do and enjoying the time that I'm doing it.
Yeah, there you go.
So right there with you.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Introducing Loom Stupid, where fashion meets quirkiness. Whether you're looking for statement tees that spark conversations or funky pieces that add whimsy to your outfit, Loom Stupid has got you covered. Join the fashion revolution and express your unique style with Loom Stupid. Visit our exclusive website at www.loomstupid.com. and discover a world of fashion that's brilliantly bizarre and undeniably chic. New designs are being added all the time. Loomstupid.com. Get your whimsy on with Loom Stupid. Because being silly is the new stylish.
Let's get back into it.
So you said that 2025 is going to be about the film festivals and trying to get Junction into as many of them as you can. Any chance you're coming to Austin for South by Southwest?
That's up to some gatekeepers. I don't know.
That was a great answer.
See, perfectly illustrated point. It's in the pipeline for it. It's in consideration for it. I submitted it like everybody else. A lot of Texas filmmakers worked on that film with me. So, my post was done in El Paso. So who knows if that helps or not.
I couldn't have told you that there was any post-production happening in El Paso. I'm going to be in El Paso in 3 weeks visiting somebody, and I could not have told you that they have any sort of post-production or whatever.
That's where Lucky McKee is based. My friend he's a horror director and he directed a movie called May. He directed The Woman. Right now he's focusing more on doing episodes of Poker Face with Natasha Lyonne and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, he directed one of my music videos because he and I went to film school together. And that's how I met all these people who worked on the Junction with me. And they just happened to be based in El Paso. That's just where they are.
Wow, how cool is that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
You mentioned Lucky. Tell me and my listeners some of the other people that are involved with this film.
So people that you probably don't know are in it, and they're all amazing. Every single actor in that movie is amazing. And I cast it myself because I didn't have money to make it a union movie. So it was literally I'm looking in, backstage and there are so many amazing actors. Every single person in that movie can just illustrate how there are so many people here who are so talented. And it's that same thing of everybody fighting for a spot, in this world that's increasingly controlled by so few people. These are actors who are working every single day. They're not names. They're just working awesome actors. We've got Alicia Blazingame. We've got Matthew Marzo, we've got Emily Gately, we've got Frania del Carmen, We have so many amazing actors in that film. And I'm really hopeful that some of the people at the film festivals will see how amazing they are and give it a try. It's tricky because that movie is so long. You know, for a short, it's really long. And what I'm encountering is it's difficult to program because they have to fit as many films as they can into these blocks during their festivals. And sometimes the long ones get edged out because you could program 4 films instead of my one, you know? So it's an uphill battle with this movie for sure, but it's so good. And I hope people see it.
40 minutes is one of the longer short films that I've seen.
Yeah.
How did you settle on 40 minutes? Is that just the time that it took to tell the story, or did you do 40 minutes on purpose?
No, if I could have done 20 minutes, I would have. It just was the way to tell the story. And if it fits guidelines of limits and stuff, fantastic. If it doesn't, oh well. I cut it to within an inch of its life, and I just made it to 40, which is where most festivals cut off the limit. So I did it to the specification that most of them wanted. But you know, even though they say 40 minutes, it's very unusual for something that long to get programmed. Unless you're doing something like a festival that has a mid-length category, which a lot of them do, sort of 30 to 60-minute length. So we'll see what happens. I hope it works out for that movie because it's so great.
I really enjoyed it. Like I was saying earlier, I thought it was headed down one road. It ended up going down a different one, but it was really well told, I thought. And like you said, well acted. All of those people did a great job. I guess there's not really a place where people can go to see this film, right?
Not yet. Once it's had this year of going around, we'll be able to know more about how to proceed because I love to make things complicated and I put music in there that is licensed. So what's going to have to happen is I'm going to have to get some kind of an angel to say, hey, I'll help you pay for these licenses outside of festivals, and then I can put it out myself. So we'll see.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Okay, so as we're winding down here, AJ, where should we send people to find out more about you and, you know, whether it's your music or your short films? Where can people find out more about AJ Lambert?
The website is ajlambert.info, which I have to update, incidentally. And then, you know, all the music is on all the things, you know, the Spotify and the iTunes and all that. Information about the film is at thejunctionmovie.com. And I'll just be putting updates on there about what festivals it'll be playing in so people can attend that if they want, and any other news that happens about it. That's pretty much it. There's a lot of information on the Instagrams for both of those as well, for myself and for the film. AJ.Lambert is me at Instagram. And then the film is The Junction Movie.
Okay. I know that sometimes, and as we record this, I think you have one coming up, but every once in a while, you'll do a live performance where you play some of your grandfather's music.
Yes, that's pretty much all the live stuff I do now. I can't afford to pay a band anymore. I have this amazing pianist. His name is John Boswell, and he and I do, you know, what I call album shows. We play an entire album front to back. We've been doing that for about 8 years. It's been a long time, maybe 6 or 7 years. It's really fun. We do it in the desert all the time, up in Yucca Valley here.
Is that Palm Springs?
Yeah, in that region.
Okay.
It's a pretty regular thing that I do in this area. We've done it in other places too, but I basically do the entire In the Wee Small Hours album, and I do the entire Sinatra Sings for Only the Lonely album. And we're going to hopefully eventually add No One Cares and Where Are You to that repertoire, because those are the only songs that I feel comfortable singing of his.
Because of the register or the content?
No, just because I don't feel comfortable doing things that have swagger.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm a 50-year-old woman. Doesn't make sense. But also I enjoy singing ballads a lot more. I do a better job at those types of songs than I would at things like Fly Me to the Moon and stuff like that I don't like anyway.
Whenever you're going to do one of these shows, where can people find out when and where that's going to happen?
The website will have that information. I have to be better about updating that. But also, it's mostly Instagram. I just do it mostly on Instagram. When I have something, I just put it on there.
All right, rad. Well, AJ, as we're heading out, is there anything I didn't ask you? I mean, I know I didn't ask you a lot, but is there anything specifically that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about today? Like, did we cover the big bits?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, rad. Well, I don't know if you would be up for it, but you have an open invitation. You can come on as much as you want, whenever you want. If you want to talk about promoting stuff, you could do that. If you just want to shoot the shit, you can do that too. I think you are amazing. I think that you have an enormous amount of stories to share and to tell, and some to never share because they're personal and private. But I think that you have been through a lot. We didn't even talk about what's going to happen next year. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Like I said, open door whenever you want. I'm sure I'll reach out to you eventually again because I'm selfish and greedy and all those things. But big fan of your whole family and you as well. And I can't wait to see what becomes of Junction.
Oh,
I'm going to be following it, and hopefully you'll come up here to Austin. I'm not in Austin, but it's close. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
AJ, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic singing, writing, directing, and short film promoting schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it.
It was 100% my pleasure. I really, really, really had a good time talking to you. Thank you, AJ.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin.
Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.